Because it's Ferrari, was the answer I got when I was asked as a 10-year-old as to why there were so many people gathered at the Red Cars pit box. The bug had bitten, and since then, got me hooked, and my love for Ferrari began there. And Gilles Villeneuve was my hero. Jody Scheckter arrived at Ferrari, and wow, it was amazing. As a South African, he was driving in the red car, he won the championship, and Ferrari were back on top. All this time, during my journey and passion for the prancing horse, I fell in love with cars like the 288 GTO, the F40, and the F50. And then Ferrari upped their game when it came to their road cars. The 355 was a complete change, and what followed has been magnificent. The 360, the 430, the 458, and the 488 have all been significant steps towards the ultimate supercar. With a return to GT racing, Ferrari embarked on lightweight versions of their production cars. And this is where we are with these four aces. The 360 Challenge Stradale, the 430 Scuderia, the 458 Speciale, and the 488 Pista. To have the opportunity to drive these cars is a dream, and I trust you will enjoy this experience with me. Forza Ferrari. Hey everybody, it's me, Sasha Martinengo, and look what I have over here. This is a Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale. I know, you don't see them that often, that's for sure. Not only that, look at this. Here is a Ferrari 430 Scuderia. This is the Ferrari 488 Pista. And over here, don't worry, there's a little Lamborghini Countach in the picture as well. But over here is the Ferrari 458 Speciale. Now the amazing thing is, it's quite rare to see all four of these cars in their original guise all together. And the owner of these cars, Alan, has said to me, Sasha, I want you to come and drive them. I want you to feel the difference between these cars. The difference in terms of production of these cars ranges about 15 years between the 360 Challenge Stradale and of course the 488 Pista. How do they compare to each other? How have they improved? What's different? That's what I'm going to find out. Imagine being this guy's neighbor, eh? When all of these things start firing up. These are the lightweight Ferraris. So these cars were developed by Ferrari from their original production car counterparts. So you had the 360, but this is quite unique because the 360 Challenge Stradale actually comes from the race version of the Ferrari 360 Challenge, whereas the other three cars all come from the original Ferrari 430, the Ferrari 458, and the Ferrari 488. So those three cars all were sort of moving upwards through the scale, whereas the Challenge Stradale went from a race car to a road-going car. At the moment, the cars are sleeping. And let me just tell you, Alan, who owns these cars and allowing me to drive them, has got special pajamas for each of these cars. So we're gonna let them sleep, and tomorrow morning we're gonna go out and find out why these cars are just so magnificent. Let's go racing.
couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I mean, look at this. We've got all 4 of the V8 lightweights owned by one guy here in the Western Cape. Before I go into each of them, because I'm going to go through them chronologically, okay, I want to just tell you that I have been with the owner, Alan, in all 4 of these cars at speed. They are his cars. I'm not going to drive them like he drives them. I have no right to do that. I'm going to go and experience them in terms of an evolution from the 360, the 430, the 458 and the 488. That's what we're going to do. So let's start off with the baby out of the lot. This is the 360 Challenge Stradale. Stradale means road going. Okay, it's got the painted tricolore on the bonnet over here. And this came from the Challenge car that went racing. So it's amazing that if you look at the evolution of all 4 cars, this one actually came from a Challenge race car back down to a road going car. It's got 25 more horsepower than the original 360 which came out. So it's looking at 420 horsepower. The one thing that is incredibly astonishing about this car are the brakes. I got to tell you, these are Enzo brakes. They come from the Ferrari Enzo straight onto this car. It is outstanding. This car in spec form 3.5 seconds a lap faster than its road going normal brother 360 around the Fiorano track. 420 horsepower. It just looks amazing. We're going to take it for a drive. The one thing that I think you're going to be blown away is the sound of the exhaust. It is just orgasmic. Let's go racing. This is the 360 Challenge Stradale. It is probably the most awesome sounding V8 car you will ever find in the history of motoring. Just listen to it. It's just unbelievable. It's mad. I mean, listen, you can feel that it wants to take you, and you really need to have a lot of skill to drive this car. It doesn't have traction control. It's got unbelievable brakes though. I mean, listen, change down into the corner, just hold it beautifully. You're not going to punch it too hard. You just got to have a little bit of fun in this car. 420 horsepower back in 2003. Man, it's like, who needs more than that? Well, you just want more. And I mean, these are privately owned cars by Alan, and they just are so special. Cannot tell you what a dream it is to drive a car like this. I've driven the Challenge on the racetrack, but to drive this on the road and just to feel that if you've got the skill, you can actually do really well in this car. If you don't, the back's going to bite you a little bit. There we go, a nice little twitch. The wonderful thing about this car is that it actually was developed from a Challenge race car and not from the original 360 Modena. So it went from a Challenge race car back into a road-going Stradale, which means road-going. It is just glorious. The sound is out of this world. The handling is magnificent, and it's a real racing car. It's a race car, but you can drive it on the road every day. It is so sexy. no better V8 in the world sounding than this Challenge Stradale. Listen to this. The gear shift down, and I mean, it's just effortless. Oh, I've still got 3 more to drive and I'm already in heaven. It doesn't honestly get much better than this. The 430 Scuderia, when it came out, I got to tell you, and I drove it many, many years ago. It was launched in 2007. Michael Schumacher launched this at the Frankfurt Motor Show. Little did we know that Kimi Räikkönen would go on and actually win the Formula One World Championship. Scuderia, of course, means team. This is the original spec of what the Scuderia came out with. As you can see, purpose-built painted lines on the bonnet. This car is bonkers, 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 bonkers. It was the first of the Ferraris to have the Manettino, which of course is on the steering wheel, and that gave you the idea or the chances to choose it from going from sport mode to race mode to traction control of all of those little gadgets. More electronically governed than its baby sister, the 360, but this car is bonkers. It's got carbon fiber everywhere. It pushes out 520 horsepower. And you sit there and think, in 2007, 520 horsepower. Today, 520 horsepower, you don't need any more. And it seems as though when Ferrari do lightweight cars, it's like 100 horsepower at a time. It's bonkers. Let me take you. You're gonna love it. Okay. This is different level. This is the 430 Scuderia, otherwise known as a Scud. It is a missile. This car is bonkers. Similar to the 360, it's also got a single clutch derivative. It's got a little bit more electronics than what the 360 came out with. 360 didn't come with much. It was very, very raw. But this car is brutal. It's just unbelievably fast. When it came out, you know, this was up against the GT2, it was up against the Gallardo Superleggera. That's the kind of caliber. Ferrari had to make something very, very special. And my God, they did. And changing is brutal because it's that single clutch. It just goes. It is so much more stable. The evolution from 360 to 430 is just bonkers. 6-speed box. This car, you got to get the brakes right. I mean, it just sticks going around the corner, you know. Hold it in there. Tires are gripping. Just wants to play with you. It is so stable. I mean, the difference between this and the 360, you just feel much more confident driving this car. You got to get these brakes up. You know, it's got the carbon ceramics, and when you're driving cars with carbon ceramic brakes, if your temperature's not right, you know, you can really properly hurt yourself. These cars have to be well warmed up, especially on their brakes, in order it to really give you the response that you want. Coming into a corner, change down, kick it in, flick it over. This might be one of my favorite cars that has ever been produced by Ferrari. I just think it's got so much rawness, but it does help you just a little bit. And when you are not fantastically skilled, you do sometimes need a little bit of help. Or if you don't drive these cars every other day or around racetracks, a little bit of help is much appreciated, I can tell you. Here we go. Let's have some fun. I mean, that gear change is just phenomenal. I mean, listen to this thing. And that's a straight pipe. This is a standard exhaust in this car. But yet again, the wonderful thing is, as much as it's sort of track, it's also every day. You can drive this every single day. It's comfortable, the seats fit you beautifully. And I mean, there's no one that is not going to stop and say, oh my God, it's a freaking Scuderia. Slight little off the accelerator blip when you change. And it just gets into the corners. I mean, there you can see I got into it a little bit late. They are so fast. You cannot believe how fast it is. And I mean, this was, this is 520 horsepower. The other one was 420 horsepower. And you're going, why would you need more? Why? Still to come, 620 horsepower and 770 horsepower. I must tell you, I'm a little nervous. The Ferrari 430 Scuderia, without a doubt, one of my favorite Ferraris ever made. This car is special, and it's called a Speciale. It's the 458. It is maybe one of the most beautiful cars I think ever built. It's limited edition as well. There's only 3,000 of these cars in the world, of which I don't know how many right-hand drive, but if you consider that the majority of the world drives left-hand drive, there are not a lot of them. The attention to detail, the front end of this car, the way that it was engineered. And you've got to sit there and remember that this car is already close to 10 years old. You want to know how fast it is or how much power it pulls out? 600 horsepower, plus a few extras as well. This has got the Novitec straight pipes in it. It is glorious to listen to, and we'll show you that in a short while. In terms of the rest of its dynamics, the styling of this car is unprecedented. In my opinion, this will go down as one of the most classic Ferraris ever. It is also the last V8 normally or naturally aspirated Ferrari that was ever made. Of course, we've gone into the turbo era, and we'll get to that with the Pista. But this car, the Ferrari 458 Speciale, to have the ability to drive one is a privilege. To own one must be just out of this world. It's called special for a reason. Oh my word. I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest. I mean, this is out of Alan's collection, this is his baby. This is his child. And this is a very rare, well, limited edition car. The 458 Speciale. And oh my word. I've driven with him in it. Now's my chance to go and give it a little bit of a burn myself. The brakes are warmed up. The engine's feeling powerful. It is probably the sexiest Ferrari in recent years. 458 Speciale. This is now a double clutch, of course. It revs to 9,000 RPM. Oh my goodness. cannot tell you how mental this car is. Jeez! Whoa! Okay. I'm slowing down just a little bit because I don't even know what speed we're doing, but that doesn't matter. The jump from the 430 Scuderia to this is ridiculous. You know, you go to the 360 and you get into the 430 and you think, yeah, well, there's quite a good jump. You know, the balance of the 430 is significantly better than the 360. But this is another world. This you cannot even consider 430 versus Speciale. This is a different kind of playing field. This also has something very, very clever called SSC, side slip control. So the cool thing about it is if you're on a track and you've got a lot more space, I mean, you can really get this car properly sideways and drift it beautifully, but it will hold itself unless you take everything off. And then you've honestly got to be an incredibly talented racing driver to have everything off. But with the side slip control, it allows you to get into corners and give it a little bit of punch, and it just holds itself. I mean, you know, I'm not even pushing it, and it just says to me, go for it, I'll hold you. So it really does help quite a lot. But I mean, listen to this thing. Oh, it's unbelievable. Just going past a cyclist. It just says play, baby, play. Hit the brakes are unbelievably responsive. You know exactly when you can brake and how hard you can brake, and it just holds itself. It is a remarkable piece of machinery and engineering. I mean, this, I cannot believe the difference when you go 430 to this. I mean, listen to that. Whoa. Whoa. I'm gobsmacked. This is, I mean, I just cannot believe that you can actually get anything faster than this. But it just handles, and it's so responsive. Naturally aspirated V8 revving to 9,000 RPM, 620 horsepower, and I've just driven it. I don't think I'm going to sleep for days. I think I need to drink some water because I'm a bit parched. My word. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, I think I know what you're thinking. When it comes to V8 Ferrari cars, lightweight special edition cars, you must be sitting and going, yeah, but what about the 288 GTO? What about the F40? Those cars are from a different generation and a different kind of era, and they are very, very, very exclusive cars. And also, turbo cars in those days were completely different to the new turbo that we have. This 488 Pista, of course, stands for track. If you go to Maranello in Italy, you go to the Fiorano Pista. It is the circuit. This is a track car. It is unbelievable, but you will be incredibly surprised how comfortable it is to drive on the road. And that's the beautiful thing about these lightweight cars. As much as they are built for track performance, they are everyday kind of cars as well. The 488 Pista in this guise has the Novitec exhaust system, and it's also got a plug-in something or whatever. 770 horsepower comes out of this beast, and it is a beast. Let me tell you, when Alan took me out for a drive in this car the other night, I could not believe the kind of power that this car produces. Also, we are traditionally thought that when it comes to driving turbo cars or whatever, you get some kind of a lag. The only reason that you would understand that this car is a turbo is a slight little whistling noise. It is instant gratification. You put your foot down and it just goes. The torque of this car is ridiculous. It is violent. It is spectacular. It is sensational. Look at the front of this car, this front wing, the aerodynamics that have gone into developing a car like this with this much horsepower shows you what Ferrari really understands, and that is, of course, ground effects, downforce. Ferraris don't have big wings. They don't need big wings. They make everything work through the airflow. This is, without a doubt, the most magnificent car on the road today. I say that without any form of embarrassment. The 488 Pista is magic to your ears, and I like to use the word sexational. Let's go and burn it. Okay, so this is the Pista de Resistance. The 488 Pista, which is just magnificent to look at. Its engineering is crazy, and it's a reintroduction of the turbo era for Ferrari. It has a full Novitec exhaust system, plus a couple of little other tricks as well. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit nervous because this is a beast. This is a proper beast. This is 770 horsepower. Now, amazingly, as we go through the evolution, the 360, the 430, the 458, and we come here, this has just got a normal safety belt. All of the others strap in, and yet this is the most potent out of all of them. It's turbo. Okay? Let's see. That doesn't feel like a turbo. It's brutal, but it is so refined. It is so brilliant. I feel unbelievably safe driving this car. Incredibly safe. Its power is redonkulous. It's just, I mean, the brakes. Oh my goodness, this is out of this world. It's got to be the best Ferrari that has been made, without a doubt. I mean, of course, always the newer one is going to be the best one, but I don't see anything that is even close. The Speciale is unbelievable and it's a limited edition. I get it. This is, why would you buy a 488? Buy a Pista. That's the answer. It's giving me a little bit of it. That's the only reason to know that it's actually a turbo. The acceleration, it just launches off the line. I mean, I'm not even using launch control. I'm in auto mode. I'm in sport mode. I'm not even in race. I mean, can you imagine what power this thing will give you in race off everything off if you knew what you were doing? I mean, it's unbelievable. The comfort, the seats are magnificent. Oh, I have no words. I actually can't believe that I'm driving a 488 Pista. I'm a very lucky boy. Just to let you know, it's 54 degrees outside. Now the Speciale, naturally aspirated, revs to 9,000 RPM. This is a twin-turbo 3.9 litre V8. It revs to 8,000 RPM. I mean, it's mental. Oh my goodness, this is heaven. You can tell I'm concentrating a bit. These corners just come at you at such speed. It's just so powerful. Jeez, that corner came quick. The handling is impeccable. I mean, this on a racetrack must be just sublime to drive. It must be just unbelievable. Let's push it a little. This is a dream come true. I cannot tell you how blessed and lucky I am. And to thank Alan for allowing me to drive these cars is incredibly generous of him. I am incredibly grateful to have been given this opportunity to bring you the 4 lightweight Ferraris, the V8 360 Challenge Stradale, the 430 Scuderia, the 458 Speciale, and this, which is just the most remarkable car I've ever driven, the 488 Pista. I don't know what's going to come next, but it's going to take a hell of a lot to beat this. Thanks for watching. Share, and yeah, let's go racing. The last car that I drove at speed was the 488 Pista. Now, as you can see, we are back and everything is quiet. It is outstanding. What a day it has been. But now it's a little bit easier for me to reflect on what it's about, because from where we did our shoot earlier today, I drove back in the 360 Challenge Stradale, which was the first car that I drove. And looking back on it, if I look at the evolution of the 360 to the 430 to the 458 to the Pista, the Challenge Stradale is wonderful. It's a beautiful, fantastic car, but it's 20 years old already, and it feels primitive. Driving it back on the roads, I went, I can't believe the difference in 20 years from that to a Pista. The 430, I think, still is a standout vehicle. The Scuderia is just fantastic. And Ferrari had gone up 3 or 4 levels
from the 360 Challenge. Then the Speciale, which is just magnificent. It's just something very, very special besides its name. That's most probably about 3 steps ahead of the 430 Scuderia. It's got a lot more electronics. It's got so much Formula One technology into its car. It's 6 levels ahead of 360. And then 4 or 5 years after that, of course, we came to the Pista. And this is just remarkable. Perhaps one of the most magnificent cars I've ever driven. If not, it is actually the most magnificent car that I've ever driven. And it's a turbo. And that's about 2 steps up from the Speciale. The DNA of Ferrari is the same. You feel fantastic. The driving position is the same. But from there, the engineering, the design, the technology, the improvements of what they've done in 20 years is phenomenal. It is beyond what you can even think. I think Enzo Ferrari, if he were alive today, would not believe that his cars that bear his name can produce the power, can produce the handling, are as magnificent looking as what I think he would have ever imagined. I do believe he would be very happy and he'd have a very big smile.
As we left the winding roads of the Cape Winelands and gently made our way back to Alan's house to put these 4 magnificent aces back to sleep, it gave me a chance to reflect as I was driving the 360 Challenge Stradale and the light was beginning to fade and the emotions just kept on flooding out. And I started thinking about the time that I went to Maranello back in 2004 and went on a full tour to see how Ferrari cars are made. And I thought about the generations of families, the artisans, the technicians, the upholsterers, the painters, from families that had worked for generations within the Ferrari group. And each of those people whose dedication, whose time it takes and took to make these cars. And you start realizing that these people have maybe even more passion than the owners of these cars at times, because they know that their craftsmanship will be appreciated by somebody who buys those cars. And if you go from the 360 Challenge to the 430 Scud to the Speciale and of course to the Pista, and you realize that that DNA just keeps on evolving, and it's the people at Ferrari that make it so special. It has been a real treat. The emotions are overwhelming, and my thanks to Alan Roche-Tifosi, who has so much passion but so much appreciation for what he has. It is really something special to be able to enjoy this experience with somebody who is so willing to give you that chance. All I can say is grazie, grazie mille. Ci vediamo. Forza Ferrari.